Ang programa ng Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice.
Okay, silipin po natin ang time check natin, 36 minutos pasado alas 6. And then 21 po ng Oktubre 2024, araw po ng Pabuenas, araw po ng Lunes. Okay, dapat kasi pag Lunes may buenas mga kababayan, no? Okay, unang pasok ng trabaho, o parehas pa sa pribado at saka government workers. Okay, mga public servants. Ayan po mga suki, no? So, pabuenas mas araw ng Lunes. Okay, magandang umaga. Good morning. Okay, sa mga kapwa ko minority, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, no? Okay, hindi pa lubusan ay totally 100% magaling tayo, no? Pero dahil sa trabaho, ay huwag tayo patamad-tamad, no? Hanggat kaya natin magtrabaho, trabaho lang mga suki, no? Trabaho lang. Okay. So, ano ang unahin natin? Sunod ang balitang hangin, no? Okay. Ano ito? Okay, Palestinian react to resignation of Israel War Cabinet. TRT is a Turkish broadcast service. So, galing ang news ito sa Turkey, no? Okay, pero hindi natin maintindihan po ang salita nila. Pero okay lang. At least dito lang sa translation ng news nila, okay, makuha natin, no? Turkish, ano ba ito? Pero ang flag dito ay flag po ng Israeli flag mga suki, no? So, ibig sabihin official ito ng Israeli. Ayan. Kasi latest balita, tinang-target po ng Hezbollah ang residence po ng ni Prime Minister Netanyahu, no? Okay, so ang focus po ng mga Hezbollah, okay, dalihin po yung mga cabinet o kaya mga official po ng Israel, no? Parang mga ganun ba? Kasi kung mga ganito na mga residents ay tina-target, ganun yun. Ang target po ay ibig sabihin nila Prime Minister Netanyahu na nila Yoav Galan at saka mga bigatin po ng kabinete po sa work cabinet po ng Israeli government, no? So ganun ng kaintindi natin, kung tinitira na yung mga residente ng mga opisyal VIP, yun ang target po ng kalaban, mga suki, no? Itong mga Hezbollah resistance galing po sa Beirut, Lebanon. Okay. So, dito po sa consolidated news natin, mag-intro muna tayo. Okay, sa umagang ito, okay, sa programa Halo-Halo Special, Opinion, Balita at iba pa. Okay, kasama sa serbisyo publiko, tinig ng mamamayan at sa kaugnayan sa mamamayan. And then, pagmamahal natin sa bayan. Okay, hindi lang sa bayan, pati na rin ng pagmamahal natin ng citizen po ng daigdig, mga kababayan, no? Kaya lagi na lang natin ginagawa ito. Wala nang katapusan pag cover natin po, mga kababayan, ng mga conflict kung saan saan po sa daigdig, mga suki, no? Dahil po sa mamahal natin sa kapwa natin, at least ma-inform, kasi marami tayo kababayan sa mga Middle East, okay, mga kamag-anak, kaya nga mahalaga po ma-inform sila. Okay, dami nga mag-text sa akin, kumusta ng balita? Ano ng balita dito sa Middle East? Okay, dahil hindi sila updated, lagi po humingi ng update sa atin, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Yan na lang lagi ang matatanggap mo mensahe, okay, galing po sa mga Middle East. Dahil magkaroon po ng worriness, okay, dahil dito po sa bakbakan ito ng grupo po ng mga Zionists at saka itong mga Shia, okay, ng Middle East, mga suki, no? Particularmente itong Hamas ng Palestine, itong Lebanon, itong Syria, itong Yemen. Okay, ang boss nila po ay bansang Iran, mga suki, no? Okay, makantay tayo sa balita po ni Professor Muhammad Marandi, no? Lagi ako humingi ng update sa kanyang okay, kay Professor Muhammad Marandi, no? Okay, educated sa Amerika and then kinuha po ng bansang Iran, mga suki, okay, para magbigay po ng mga kuro-kuro, mga opinion po para sa daigdig, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. So, sige po, pakinggan natin itong opisal ito kahit salitang Hebrew. Okay? Makuan natin, mga kababayan, no? Okay. Wala na tayong ginawa kundi pagtutok po sa problema nila, no? Walang katapusan problema, no? Ito kasi si Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nakakatakot dun, no? Okay, nag-invoke ng mga religious pretext. Okay, sa kanyang mga speech, no? Okay, kaya nga dapat ang civilization hindi po ma-involve dito sa kaguluhan nito, mga kababayan, no? Okay, lahat ng ibang civilization na hindi ma-involve, sila lang, and then tayo po, mga civilian, mga taong mundo, ay manawagan tayo magkaroon po ng at least man lang kapayapaan, o kaya ceasefire. Okay, nanawagan na si President Biden, nanawagan na po yung leader ng Germany, at saka si Emmanuel Macron, magkaroon po ng ceasefire. Pero napakatigas ito, panindigan po ng very extreme Zionist, okay, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Pakinggan natin itong bakit mag-resign, no? Okay, Hebrew. Ayan.
לצערי, נתניהו מונע מאיתנו להתקדם לניצחון האמיתי שהוא ההצדקה למחיר הכואב והמתמשך. לכן, אנחנו עוזבים היום ממשלת אחים. בלב כבד, אך בלב שלם. לצערי, נתניהו מונע מאיתנו להתקדם לניצחון האמיתי שהוא ההצדקה למחיר הכואב והמתמשך. לכן, אנחנו עוזבים היום את ממשלת אחים. בלב כבד, אך בלב שלם. לצערי, נתניהו מונע מאיתנו להתקדם לניצחון האמיתי שהוא ההצדקה למחיר הכואב והמתמשך. לכן, אנחנו עוזבים היום את ממשלת אחים. בלב כבד, אך בלב שלם. לצערי,
Okay.
נתניהו מונע מאיתנו...
Okay, pagkatapos ng mag-news ako, maghanap ako ng dictionary, no? Okay. Mag-search ako ng mga kung anong sinasabi po ng cabinet secretary po ng ni Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Para maintindihan natin ang salitang Hebrew. Ayan po mga suki. Kailangan naghanap tayo ng dictionary, maintindihan natin yung sinasabi nila, no? Ayan. Mag-research po rin tayo, no? Okay, sandi lang.
Ang programang Special Pinoy Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapapinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay. Ayan po. Mag-disclaimer lang ako, no? Mag-disclaimer ako. I am not part of the conflict. I am a part of solution, mga suki, no? Okay, sa global conflict. Hindi ko pinangarap po ay maging magulo ang daigdig. I am part of the solution, no? So, kaya nga, magbigay tayo ng mga information kung anong information makuha natin, no? Yun na. I-disclaimer ko, hindi ako part ng conflict, no? But I am part of the solution o for peaceful resolution ng mga kaguluhan nito, mga kababayan, no? Okay. So, ano ang susunod natin, no? Ang susunod natin, parinig natin po yung mga mundo. Nation po ay pinaka-power po ngayon, no? Okay, dahil po sa kanilang mga nuclear power, mga suki, no? Parinig natin kung ano pa ng mga bansa ay meron nuclear armament. Ayan. Okay. Ito.
Korea, approximately 30. Number 8, Israel, approximately 90. Number 7, India, approximately 165. Number 6, Pakistan, approximately 170.
Okay, mas marami pang Pakistan kaysa India, no? Okay, 170 na po ang nuclear bomb ng sama-sama, no? Mga warhead, bomba ang Pakistan. So 170 minus 165, meron pang 5 nuclear, mas ibig sabihin mas marami pang Pakistan, no? Okay, sige. Ano ang susunod?
Number 5, United Kingdom, approximately 225. Number 4, France, approximately 290. Number 3, China, approximately 500. Number 2, United States, approximately 5,244. Number 1, Russia, approximately 5,889.
Ulitin natin, no? Okay.
Nuclear Power Ranking 2024. Number 9, North Korea, approximately 30.
30.
Number 8, Israel, approximately 90.
Israel, 90.
Number 7, India, approximately 165. Number 6, Pakistan, approximately 170. Number 5, United Kingdom, approximately 225. Number 4, France, approximately 290. Number 3, China, approximately 500. Number 2, United States, approximately 5,200.
بيغفر لي وارحمني واجبرني وارفعني وارزقني واهدني وعافني واعف عني بيغفر لي وارحمني واجبرني وارفعني وارزقني واهدني وعافني واعف عني بيغفر لي.
Okay, nakita mo, hindi ko pinindot yun. Bigla na lang pumasok ang dua, yung supplication sa Muslim. Ibig sabihin, ang programa ito magbarkat mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay, may bless. Okay, sa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no? Ang programa ito. Dahil sa purpose, dahil sa kanyang intention, dahil sa kanyang inamalum niya. Yun po ang mahalaga mga suki, no? Yung intention ng puso mo. Hindi para manggulo, kundi manghingi ng magdua, magkaroon ng kapayapaan sa daigdig, no? So, bigla lang dumating yung dua. Okay. So, bless. Sa Lunes, bless na bless po ang programa natin, no? Ayan. So, sige po. Ang susunod, ano po ang susunod?
Ang programang Holisay sa Impingong Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Monster voice, female voice, male voice, lolly voice.
Awesome! Awesome! Awesome!
Okay, sandali lang. Hanapin natin balitang hangin, no? O, ito na para balita hangin. Pag makita natin. Okay, sandali lang. Hanapin ko balitang hangin para makahanda tayo. Okay, balita ito ay October 20, 2024, wala pang 21, no? Okay, alas 4 kahapon po pinalabas nila. Hindi pa ata nagawa itong latest. Okay, balikan natin kung may latest. Kung wala, ito parinig natin mga suki, no? Okay, nakapromise tayo magbalita ng hangin. Wala pang update po sa 2021. Sa 21. Ayan. Sige. Okay. Sino nagbalita ito? Si Torres, Madam Torres mga suki, no? So, kahapon yun alas 4. Okay. So, antayin natin ang pinaka-latest, no? Sige, yan na.
Magandang hapon. Update na nga muna tayo sa lagay na ating panahon ngayong araw ng linggo, ika-20 araw ng Oktubre taong 2024. May kita nga natin sa ating latest na satellite image na meron tayong low pressure area na binabantayan sa labas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Kaninang alas 3 ng hapon, ito ay nasa may layong 1,450 kilometers silangan ng Southern Luzon. Itong low pressure area na ito ay mataas yung tsansa na maging bagyo within this day. Naasahan nga din natin posibleng pumasok ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility kung hindi ngayong araw ay bukas. Mapapansin din natin sa ating satellite animation na malawak.
In a bold move, he halted oil exports to the U.S. and other Western nations in retaliation.
Ito namang trap ay nagdadala ng maulap na papawirin at mga kalat-kalat na pag-ulan, pagkidlat at pagkulog sa may Aurora, Quezon, Bicol Region, Northern Samar, sa may Palawan, Zamboanga Peninsula, sa may Barm at Soxargen. Kaya ingat, lalo na yung ating mga kababayan na inuulan ng mga nakaraang araw pa, pati yung mga nakatira sa flood-prone at landslide-prone area sa mga banta ng pagbaha o pagguho ng lupa. Para naman sa Metro Manila at nalalabing bahagi ng bansa, partly cloudy to cloudy skies at may mga tsansa ng mga localized thunderstorms. Yung mga kasamahan natin sa Regional Services Division patuloy na maglalabas ng mga thunderstorm advisory, rainfall advisory o hindi kaya heavy rainfall warning kung kinakailangan. Para naman sa lagay ng ating panahon bukas, unahin natin sa may Luzon area. Asahan pa nga rin natin na magiging maulan, Aurora, Quezon, Bicol Region, pati na rin sa may Palawan. Patuloy pa nga rin yung partly cloudy to cloudy skies condition sa Metro Manila at nalalabing bahagi ng Luzon area. Agwat ng temperatura bukas sa Metro Manila ay 24 to 31 degrees Celsius. 17 to 24 degrees Celsius sa may Baguio, 25 to 33 degrees Celsius sa may Lawag at 25 to 32 degrees sa may Tuguegarao. 26 to 30 degrees Celsius sa may Legazpi. Sa Puerto Princesa naman ay 25 to 32 degrees Celsius, gayon din naman sa may Kalayaan Islands. Para naman sa lagay ng panahon, Visayas, bukas ay asahan na nga natin na buong Visayas ay magiging maulan na cause pa rin ng trough ng low pressure area or kung bagyo na siya by that time. For tomorrow naman, sa Zamboanga Peninsula, Barm, pati na rin sa may Soxargen, asahan pa nga rin natin na patuloy na magiging maulan. Sa nalalabing bahagi ng Mindanao area ay partly cloudy to cloudy skies. Mga tsansa pa nga rin na mga localized thunderstorms ay posible. Agwat ang temperatura bukas sa may Zamboanga Peninsula, Cebu, pati na rin sa may Tacloban ay 26 to 31 degrees Celsius. Sa may Iloilo naman ay 26 to 30 degrees Celsius, 24 to 32 degrees Celsius sa may Cagayan de Oro at 25 to 33 degrees Celsius sa may Davao. Wala pa rin naman tayong nakataas na gale warning sa kahit na anong baybayin ng ating bansa. Para naman sa 3-day weather outlook ng mga pangunahing syudad natin, so simulan natin sa may Luzon area, sa Metro Manila at Baguio. Tuesday, posible pa nga rin na magpapatuloy yung partly cloudy to cloudy skies at mga tsansa ng mga localized thunderstorms. Pero pagdating ng Wednesday and Thursday, eto na posible yung low pressure area na napakataas na tsansa na maging bagyo ay magpapaulan dito Wednesday and Thursday sa Metro Manila at Baguio. Sa Legazpi City naman, posible pa rin Tuesday to Thursday na maging maulan, pero critical itong araw ng Tuesday dahil ito na yung maaaring maging simula ng mga heavy to intense rains. Kaya doble ingat pa nga rin sa ating mga kasamahan, lalo na sa mga nakatira sa mga low-lying at flood-prone areas. Patuloy tayo mag-aantabay ng mga update ng pag-asa. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, magpapatuloy na maging maulan sa areas na to, sa may Legazpi, pati na rin sa may silangang bahagi ng Luzon area. Inuulit natin, by Tuesday, posible na nga yung simula ng heavy to intense rains. Para naman sa mga pangunahing syudad ng Visayas, Metro Cebu, Iloilo City at Tacloban City, pati na rin sa malaking bahagi ng Visayas, asahan nga natin na patuloy na magiging maulan caused by yung low pressure area na posible na ngang nabagyo by this time. So, may kita natin, kahit dito sa may Visayas area, Tuesday pa nga rin yung start ng mga heavy to intense rains. Kaya ingat pa rin at laging mag-antabay sa ilalabas na date ng South ng Visayas PRSC. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maulan pa rin sa area ng Visayas. Sa Metro Cebu, pinakamataas na temperatura ay 31 degrees Celsius. 30 degrees Celsius sa may Iloilo City at sa may Tacloban City ay 30 degrees Celsius. Para naman sa mga pangunahing syudad ng Mindanao area, Metro Davao, Cagayan de Oro at Zamboanga City. So asahan natin, Metro Davao patuloy ang fair weather conditions with chances of localized thunderstorms. Pero sa may Cagayan de Oro, hanggang Tuesday lang ang fair weather condition at start na ng pagiging maulan by Wednesday. Sa Zamboanga City naman, hanggang Tuesday na magiging maulan, pero pagdating ng Wednesday, Thursday, start na improving weather conditions sa area na yan. Pinakamataas na temperatura sa Metro Davao ay 33 degrees Celsius. 25 to 31 degrees Celsius sa may Cagayan de Oro at 25 to 32 degrees Celsius sa may Zamboanga Peninsula. Yung mga kasamahan natin sa Regional Services Division maglalabas ng mga thunderstorm advisory, rainfall advisory o hindi kaya heavy rainfall warning kung kinakailangan. Iulit nga po natin, by Tuesday, posible na nga yung start ng mga heavy to intense rains, kaya lagi pa rin tayo mag-antabay sa mga ilalabas na update ng pag-asa. Sa Kalakhang, Maynila, ang araw ay lulubog ng 5:33 ng hapon at sisikat bukas ng 5:48 ng umaga. Huwag magpapahuli sa update ng pag-asa. I-follow at ilike ang aming X at Facebook account, DOST_pag-asa. Mag-subscribe sa aming YouTube channel, DOST-pag-asa Weather Report. At para sa mas detalyadong impormasyon, bisitahin ang aming website pag-asa.dost.gov.ph. At yan naman po muna ang latest mula sa Weather Forecasting Center ng Pag-asa, Veronica C. Torres, nagkulat.
Okay, Madam Veronica Torres. Ito sa iyo. Okay. Anong sunod na parinig natin? Itong may katanong, are BRICS countries already challenging the U.S. Led world order? Okay, pakinggan natin po ito, no, mga suki, no? Okay, galing po sa pinagkatiwalaan natin balita sa Al Jazeera, mga suki, no? So, anong sa tingin natin ng BRICS? Okay, kayang-kaya na ba pantayan ng West Empire? Let's see, the bottom line. Okay.
A group of countries known as
Wait lang, no? Okay, wait lang. Kung kayo alis, nakalimutan po i-transfer yung para sa audio. Ayan. Sige. Ayan na.
The West likes to dismiss the BRICS alliance as a political sideshow.
But is it starting to crack the U.S.-led global order? Let's get to the bottom line.
Sensitive naman ng gadget ito. Grabe. Napaka-sensitive mo naman. Ayan, yan po mga sukin. Ulitin
Order.
natin.
Let's get to the bottom line. Next week, the group of countries known as the BRICS meet in Russia for its annual summit. After the Alliance of Emerging Economies expanded last year, these 9 countries now represent a bigger slice of global wealth than the G7, the main economic group of the United States and its junior partners. Population-wise, BRICS represents about 5 times more people around the world than these G7 nations, and it literally has 40 countries knocking on its door to join. But what power does it really have? And can the BRICS pose a challenge to America's grip on global dominance and the global economy, even if it wanted to? Today we're talking with Richard Wolff, Professor Emeritus of Economics at the University of Massachusetts and author of more than a dozen books on the global economy, including Democracy at Work, A Cure for Capitalism. It's an honor to have you on the show today. I want to just ask you like point blank, BRICS, is it a real new thing that's going to challenge the American global order, or is it still an illusion?
Well, the short answer to your question is it's a real thing, not an illusion.
Illusion ba? Illusion ba or reality?
The order
Or
is
real?
dominated by the United States, and it promises to continue to do so. It certainly is as we are speaking. It is only wishful thinking on the part of the major countries of what we used to call the collective West, or maybe should still call it. It's a self-delusion on the part of the West to minimize it, to brush it off. Really is a new world order that we are living through. And I believe many of the problems, many of the tensions, many of the hostilities we are in the midst of, as you and I are speaking, are derivative from, are shaped by the challenge posed by the BRICS.
So when I look at this group of nations, it's hard for me to understand what do they represent.
An illusion,
What are they for?
sabi ni
So I know that they may be
ng
against
Professor of
American
Economics
dominance,
ito, no?
But what are they collectively for?
They should not be thought of as some sort of monolith. They aren't. But they share that the highest priority they have is to emerge from the state of underdevelopment, less development, whatever language you find comfortable. These are countries that don't yet have the standard of living of the United States and who do not accept the notion that they can't or mustn't or shouldn't aspire to at least the same standard of living, if not in fact a higher standard. And they want the freedom and they want
Hindi
the
pa kaya po ang
opportunity
West, no?
to do so. And now the tension. They feel that the United States, with its major allies, the G7, that is Canada, Japan, Britain, France, Italy, and Germany, those 7 have held them back. First as colonies, and secondly as pariahs, as nations that are hemmed in by all kinds of restrictions.
Okay, sabi po ni Professor Wolff, okay, hindi pa kaya po ng BRICS. Napantayan po ang buhay natin dito sa Western nation, no? Except ang buhay natin dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, kasi marami pang mahirap. Pero yung mga ibang bansa katulad sa US, katulad sa Germany, katulad yung 7 group ng nation, France, UK, Italy, wala pa. Hindi pa sila kaya pantayan mga suki, no? So kaya sinabi ni Professor Warp is an illusion, parang dream ng BRICS na tayo taga-West ay kaya pantayan mga suki, no? Kaya in-accept ko ang Pilipinas kasi wala pa. Hindi pa tayo belong doon sa under developing nation pa ang Pilipinas mga suki, no? Okay. Dahil hindi pa tayo nakatagpo ng magandang leader po katulad nila Angela Merkel, okay, nila Nelson Mandela, okay, nila Václav Havel, wala pa, hindi pa tayo makatagpo. Katulad nila Modi, wala pa, malayo pa. So, yan po ang ating, hindi pa tayo katulad nila Xi Jinping, wala pa. Wala pa po ang Pilipinas. Layong-layo pa po mga kababayan, na. Okay. Down pa tayo. Mas lalo na ngayon talagang bagsak kung pag-uusapan po ang credibility natin, no? Ayan. Sinira kasi. Ayan. Ginawa na ng mabuti and then sinira pa. Sige po.
Ang programang Special Pinoy Balita at Iba ay tumatalakay sa mga isu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Ako, maiksi na lang ang dila ko sa kabunganga dito. Wala pa rin. Hindi pa rin tayo makatagpo po ng magandang pinuno, leader po. Exceptional, no? Katulad nila Angela Merkel. Okay, maglaba lang sa sariling pag-weekend, laba lang na sarili niyang mga gamit, mga suit, para pasukin po pag pumasok sa opisina, no? Si Angela Merkel ng Germany. Okay? Paalis na lang. Kasi naubos ng term, hindi matanggal-tanggal po sa kapangyarihan dahil sa kabutihan nila Angela Merkel, mga kababayan, no? Okay, nila Nelson Mandela, patakbuhin ulit, ayaw na. Binigay na po yung kapangyarihan sa iba. One term lang. Pero tinitiran mong resulta po ng bansang South Africa, mga sulit. Ang bilis ng pag-asenso, mga kababayan, na. Ayan. So, ganun. Dito kasi sa atin, buaya Meron tayong ugaling buaya. Lahat halos buaya, mga sukilo. Okay, sabihin natin national, regional, local, okay, puro buaya. Kaya sabi ko, iklit na lang ang dila ko sa kasabi, okay, hindi pa rin magbabago po, mga kababayan, na. Pero bali, at least masabi ko. Okay. Mawala man ako sa daigdig. Wala na. At least makaparte ako ng kailangan reforma, mga kababayan, na. Tunay na reforma. Sige. Okay, pakinggan natin po itong our BRICS countries already challenging the US-led world order. Sabi po ni Professor Warp. Okay, an illusion for the BRICS countries, no? 37 countries. Yan.
That is what's unacceptable. That is what they agree on, and that's where the rub with the G7 emerges.
Now I want to ask you a complex question about the dollar. Why can't there be a challenge on that status tomorrow? Why can't rubles or the yuan or the currencies in Brazil, etc., be bundled together, which I understand is part of the objective of the BRICS. But why is there such primacy of the dollar?
Well, it's been the case, as you correctly point, it's been the case basically since the end of World War II. And if I may, let me suggest the importance of of historically understanding what we're doing here, what situation that we are in. At the end of World War II, all of the countries that might have been competitors of the United States in terms of their economic power, their influence on the world, their importance in the flows of trade and money, all of the potential competitors, and we can list them: Britain, France, Germany, Japan, Russia, all were destroyed by the war. By contrast, the United States emerges after having a war, but the war helped the American economy. People have to remember, we were in a deep depression, the greatest depression capitalism has ever suffered.
Okay, ito si Professor Ward ng Massachusetts. Maraming libo ito mga suki, no? Puro pang ekonomiya. Pero alam mo naman, pro-West siya. Pro-Western nation mga suki, no? Mga line of thinking niya, okay, puro pro-West. Ayan. Pro-West, Western thinker. Itong si asang professor ito. Malaki ang ulo eh. Ayan po mga suki.
From 1929 to 1940-41, when World War II gets underway, this economy, the U.S., was depressed. In 1933, we had a 25% unemployment rate. 1 out of 4 workers had no work. And this affected every family in the country. So we came out of the Great Depression by means of World War II. We took half of the millions who were unemployed and put them in a uniform, and the other half of the unemployed went to work making the uniforms and the guns and the ships and the planes and all the rest. And so we came out of the war.
Tapusin natin kahit mahaba, no?
We suffered
Sige
loss
lang.
of troops who fought. That was certainly significant, but not comparable to what happened in those other countries. But we had an intact economic system. Other than Pearl
Ang
Harbor,
gusto ko sa inyo, mag-note-note ba? Inote ang sinasabi niya.
And so there was no contest. We were king of the hill. We, the U.S., was dominant. If you're going to conduct trade, you better use the dollar, because that was the only thing you could be sure was valuable alongside of gold. And so the dollar became the international symbol as well as the real transactional material to get your economy going again. So that by the end of the 20th century, it had become the norm, as you rightly say, for central banks around the country to hold dollars as well as gold as the reserve banking their currency. And the easiest way for Americans to grasp what the dollar as international currency means is to think very simply. Here's how it goes. A foreign country sends the United States the fruits of its labor: wine from France, electrical equipment from Japan, copper from Africa, whatever. And we send them little green pieces of paper, the dollar, the $10 bill, the $100 bill, which costs absolutely nothing to produce. It's a cheap piece of paper. They accept the paper.
Courtesy ng Argentina, no?
Wow. They agree. Normally,
Ito lang news ay kuwan ako. Maniwala ako talaga sa kanilang very balanced po ng balita.
it's an exchange. And in many cases, we still do that here in the United States with other countries. But if you have the dollar and the world wants it, you basically get something for nothing. The world holds the dollar, satisfied with that, because they need it for their currency support, and we get the fruit of other people's labor without having to give anything of our own in exchange. It's an extraordinary power, and guess what? Other countries would like to participate.
Let me ask you about the BRICS versus the G7. Isn't this, in a way, a bit of a charade? where the dominant behemoth power in the G7 is the United States, and the dominant behemoth power in the BRICS is China. And you hear about Brazil, you hear about Russia, you hear about India, but I mean, I'm just wondering whether these two gargantuans are sort of hiding the fact that we're in a, essentially a G2 world of China and the United States at odds, negotiating and masking what they're doing. How do you look at China versus the United States versus the G7 versus BRICS?
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know if I would use the word hiding, although I understand why you do that. It is a diplomatic politeness. You don't point it out that you're the bigger of the partners in a deal. It's a polite, everybody knows, but you kind of don't say it. So let me first say you're right. The United States is the overwhelming dominant player among the G7, and China is the unquestioned equal dominant under the BRICS. All right, let's start with Russia, because it's a big, important player. The GDP of Russia last year in the neighborhood of, say, $2 trillion. These are rough measures, so it's the order of magnitude. That's all you have to keep in your mind. What is the comparison with the United States?
Okay, wag kayo alis, mag-aral tayo ng economics.
This last year, about 24-25 trillion. So you understand, Russia is 2 trillion, the United States 24-25 trillion. No contest. No one should ever imagine that either the Soviet Union in the past or Russia now is some kind of economic competitor of the United States. Never was, isn't now. Only the hype of the Cold War would make one think like that, and that's something we should correct if you've never had it explained to you. Now let's move to China. What's the GDP of China? Again, there are lots of debates about how you count it, but order of magnitude, 17, 18 trillion dollars. Way more important than Russia, but still not the size of the United States, although it's catching up. And most people believe at current rates of economic growth, China will surpass the United States by the end of this decade. And it has been catching up. Let's remember, 50 years ago, which in historical time is a moment, 50 years ago, China was among the poorest countries on earth. And now it is the only country in the world even close to the United States, and as I say, catching up. So China dominates. Russia, Brazil, India. India, by the way, is doing remarkably well. The problem is they have a poverty-stricken mass that is holding them back, and until they can do something about that, which they still have a long way to go, they will not be equivalent to China either.
Right.
China is, you correctly see, the new thing for the United States. And what do I mean? It's the first real economic competitor that the United States has had in a century. That's why it's so hard for Americans, including our leaders, to adjust, as the whole world must now, to this reality that the dominance of the United States is over, and there is no prospect that I can see for it to come back.
So let me ask you, Richard, about your view of the U.S. elections. Right now we have a ragingly high stock market. We have very low unemployment. If you go out and talk to Americans, there's a lot of anxiety out there when a lot of the, surface data are pretty good. And I think Kamala Harris is running on that. And she's running against someone who's running on populist economics. So I'm interested in how you see these choices. We're going to have an election here in a couple of weeks. And do you think I framed it correctly?
Well, I would go further. Let me give you some other numbers. We have a greater degree of inequality in our economy than we have had for 50 years. The equality that came out of the Great Depression, the New Deal, that was remarkable about the United States. At the end of World War II, the United States was less unequal than all of our allies in Europe. Today, it's reversed. We're more unequal than all of our allies in Europe. What happened? We cut taxes on corporations. We exported huge quantities of the best paying jobs in manufacturing, which we don't have anymore. I could give you a long list of symptoms, of data, of realities that suggest his economy has got huge problems. And so here's the difficulty. There are people in our country who are enjoying the good things. And then there are people in our country who are excluded from the good things. Let's remember, for example, that the 10% richest Americans own about 90% of the stocks. So when you're saying the stock market is doing well, it is good news for those 10%, no question. But for the other 90%, they're watching the 10%, but they're not included in that happy experience. So they feel deprived, neglected, and they're beginning, you can see where Trump's support can begin to develop. The idea we want to go back, MAGA, we want to go back, well, because the president isn't looking very good, and the prospects for their children in large parts of the United States are pretty grim, if you're going to be honest about it. So we shouldn't be surprised if you don't distribute the good news equally across the society, you're going to get the results that we are now watching in terms of the closeness of this election.
Well, that discontent that you just described also seems to echo in what we're hearing from the BRICS, that there's sort of, all around the world, you sort of see this boiling discontent. I think it's hard to know sometimes when that infrastructure falls and is replaced, by those that have that discontent. But it's very interesting. I would be remiss, Richard, if I didn't ask you to share your thoughts on the Middle East as well. I mean, you've been essentially, in my view, a cold, hard realist on economics, beyond morality, beyond politics, look at the economics of things, and be a realist telling that story. When you look at today the crisis in the Middle East we see unfolding, Israel and this broadening crisis in the Middle East, and America kind of acquiescing to a lot of this, I'd love to get your thoughts and insights on where you see this going.
Yeah, I try to be realistic. I try to look at the data. I try to give a balanced view in all of these things. So let me try a little bit there. If you ask for the big picture, the way you opened our conversation by looking at the large geopolitical framework within which to think about these things, then I would have to say that much of what the United States has been doing, including its support for what Israel is doing, that these strike me as unfortunate, I'm choosing my words carefully, attempts by the G7, the West, whatever you want to call it.
I'm choosing my term. Maingat magbitaw ng kanyang terminology po mga suki. Okay, si Professor Richard Warp. Ibig sabihin, pinipili rin niya ang mga sinasabi niya sa publiko mga kababayan. Na? Okay. Sige. Okay, tapusin natin. Malapit na.
Unfortunate efforts to hold on to a position that simply is no longer historically available to them. I understand it. Look, the American empire is shrinking. If you have a historical sense, you would have known that the special position I described a few moments ago that comes out of World War II with the United States sitting on top, that can't be sustained. It never has been in human history. No empire lasts forever. Every empire rises out of particular circumstances, evolves over time, and then passes away. The United States emerged as the dominant player in the world. I mean, look, we have 700 to 800 military bases around the world right now. No other country has anything remotely like that. That's a reflection of our empire. You can put whatever fancy words you want around it, but that's what this is. and it had no chance of surviving forever. It would eventually fade away like every other empire, and that's a very difficult experience for Americans, just as we can watch over the previous century.
Okay, katulad ba itong mga tao ito, no? Itong nila Professor Richard Warp. Okay? Alagang-alaga po ng yung mga leader po ng Amerika. Okay, mga presidente ng Amerika, lahat ng okay, kasi utak nila po grabe. Grabe po. Okay, alagang-alaga, hindi talagang hindi po pinabayaan mga sukilo. Para yung mga idea nila, okay, mga opinion nila, okay, makalabas po pag merong kailangan sa kanila, no? Kaya nga, mga taong alagang-alaga po sa Amerika. Ayan.
The British had to go through the loss of their empire, which is now absolutely gone from them. We are now, our empire peaked, and we are on the way down, and we try to hold on. We don't want the Russians to tell us they can take a piece of Ukraine back into Russia. And we don't want our ally, our friend in the Middle East, Israel, to be in any way held back from what it wants to do. These are our allies, that is our enemy, we want to hold it, but we can't. We can't. And this bitter lesson, look, the honesty, and I know this is difficult for Americans, we lost the war in Vietnam. It's now the Communist Party that runs that country. We lost the war in Afghanistan. It's the Taliban that runs that country. We lost the war in Iraq. I mean, I could go on, but the lesson should become plain to people. We can't do it. Israel is a country of a few million people is not going to control and run the Middle East. It can't do that with or without the United States. It can drive people crazy. It can produce unspeakable outcomes. And to take off my realist economist hat for a minute, these are war crimes. War crimes are defined when you kill civilians. A war is supposed to be a military against the military, and we went through a lot of trouble in the 20th century, in World Wars I and II, to come up with a war crimes definition and an international court that can identify and try to stop war crimes. That's when you kill large numbers of civilians. It doesn't matter what the excuse is, you can't. Right. So yeah, the Hamas people on the October last year killed civilians. That's a war crime. That doesn't mean I don't understand why Palestinians would be resisting the dominance and the growth of Israel. I understand why they would. I think Israelis understand why they would.
Right.
And then the killing of civilians over the last year by Israel, for me, indefensible as a war crime. As the International Court has said, it is a war crime and castigated Mr. Netanyahu. But for me, the bigger picture is that these are efforts to hold on. Israel is a kind of settler colonialism. It's when Europeans come and
Okay. Describe po niya ay, sabi po ni Professor Warp, settler colonialism. Colonial. Okay, settler colonialism ang utak po ng mga Israel, no? Galing po kay Professor Richard Warp. Okay, hindi po galing sa atin. So, settler, okay, colonialism, mga kababayan, na. Okay. So, makakuan na yon. Okay, malaking puntos na yon. Okay, settler colonialism. Ayan po mga suki. Sandali lang, cut muna and then kunti na lang yon. Sandali lang.
Ang programang Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Yan po ang describe po ng professor na ito. Okay, settler, colonialism, mga utak ng Israel regime, mga sukila. Okay, sige po. I-continue natin, no? Okay, continue natin ito para makuha natin lahat, no?
And push out the local people, pretend they aren't there. That's that notion, a people without land, the Jews, are going to land without people. Yeah, it is a lovely story, it's a lovely parallel, but it isn't true. There were people there. We know the story. We're Americans. Europeans came here, got rid of the local population, and the few of them that are left are stuck in reserves. Where Israel is going is in that direction. But the problem is that was centuries ago where you could do that. You can't do that now. You cannot, and the world is isolating Israel. And what I see is a very, very unhappy end for Israel in making this sad effort to hold on when the only possibility is working out a live and let live arrangement with your neighbors.
So much to think about. I really want to thank you, renowned economist and author Richard Wolff. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me, and my appreciation for having these conversations. The United States, in which I was born and lived all my life, needs it now more than ever.
Oh.
So what's the bottom line? People just don't like upheaval and change. After World War II, America and its allies built a system that still exists today. Folks not only go along with the system, but they try to reinforce it. They try to rationalize it to an almost absurd degree, even when they're hurt by it. Until one day, all of a sudden, the whole structure collapses, and from it, a new paradigm emerges. It is true that China is challenging America's primacy. It is true that Africa is rising. It is true that South Asia and Latin America represent the biggest growth of the middle class worldwide. But the American-led order is going to continue to lead, and its supporters are going to twist themselves into pretzels trying to justify it. Until one day when it doesn't. The BRICS just aren't there yet, but they're clearly clawing at the door. And that's the bottom line.
Okay, colonial, settler colonialism, no? Describe po ni Professor Richard Wolff ang system po ng regime ng Israel ay yun. Settler colonialism, mga sukil, no? Okay, hindi lang ata doon eh. Pati dito sa atin, meron mga utak ng ganun, mga sukil, no? So, at least pangaral po ni Professor Richard Wolff ng University of Massachusetts ay nakakuha tayo ng aral kahit paano, mga sukila. Mag-take note ba kayo? Okay, pagod ako rito po magkabigay ng lecture, magandang mga lecture galing sa mga magagaling na tao. Hindi kayo mag-take note, no? Okay, para at least pumasok sa utak niyo, mga sukila. Ayan. Sige.
Ang programang Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Sandali lang, tapos na, no? Okay, overtime naman. Ayan. Okay, mga suki mga kababayan, ito lang ito, no?
Monster voice, female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Okay, sa Amerika po ay 16 days na lang sa November 5. Okay, ay mag-elect na po mga suki, no? Okay, lately, itong recent attack po kay Vice President Kamala Harris, grabe po ang mga kakampi po ni former President Donald Trump sa political propaganda. No, talagang sinira po ng husto. Sinira po ng husto, no? They tried to destroy Kamala Harris, no? By political propaganda imposed by the allies of President Donald Trump, no? Malaking pera po binuhos po para sirain po si Kamala Harris, no? Pero hindi po matitinag, no? Siya pa rin hanggang ngayon ang leading sa lahat ng political trending po sa US, mga sukin, no? So, malapit na po ang election. Kung hindi magbabago po ang decision po ng mga American voters, parang ay makuha po 100% makuha po ng Kamala Harris, no? Ang pagka-presidente ng US, no? Pag hindi magbago po yung trending hanggang election day, mga suki, no? Kaya it need more fun, more contribution for Kamala Harris to sustain what is needed for political campaign to sustain her popularity, no? Kailangan ma-sustain yun. Billionaire from the Democrats, for 16 days, it need more fun, more contribution for Kamala Harris, no? Ayan. Kailangan po pondo na pag ganito, pa ma-sustain po ang pagkapanalo po ni Kamala Harris, no? Against President Donald Trump. So, kailangan ng mga Democrats contributor ay ibuhos na po ang pera. Kung meron pang pera po para i-contribute kay Kamala Harris, no? It need more funds. More campaign funds for Kamala Harris. Palagay ko nandyan pa rin ng mga alas, ng mga Democrats. Ayan, sa hanggang last campaign period ng Democrats, mga sukita. Grabe po ang mga binitawan po ng propaganda. Campaign propaganda, mga advertisement. Pinalabas po ng kampo po ng Donald Trump, no? Grabe ang election sa Amerika. So, okay, palagay ko handang-handa po si Kamala Harris, no? Okay, kasi sa Amerika, Electoral College vote at saka popular votes po ang combination yun dapat makuha mo mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Base po yan sa paramihan po ng representante, okay, sa bawat estado, 50 estado po ng US, mga kababayan, no? Doon sa Electoral College. Kaya blue-red, okay, blue ang Democrats, and red naman ang Republican. So, kung marami ang blue, ang presidente po ay si Kamala Harris, no? Kung marami ang red, si Donald Trump ang presidente. Kaya pagalingan na yan po, mga suki, no? Okay, last 1 week talagang pagalingan na sila mag-strategize. Okay, political strategy para sa US, no? Narisot sa atin na malayo pa. Okay, banatan pa rito sa atin. Wala pa campaign period, mga suki, no? Okay, puro banatan pa lang sa mga social media. Okay, salamat sa social media po ay nagpauso po ng political campaign dito sa Pilipinas, no? Okay, magtakbo ka ng mga governor, social media po ang gamitin mo. Pagtakbo ka ng mayor, okay, social media ang gamitin mo. Ayan. Kadali na ang campaign, mga suki, no? Dito naman sa Zamboanga, okay, sino kaya? Between Batang-Bata, okay, si congressman namin dito ng 1st District, si Kimer Adan Olaso ba? O itong incumbent po, si Manix Dalipe ng 2nd District. So, ganun din. Ang decision po yan ay magmula po sa mga Sambuangueños, mga suki, no? Okay, marami na magkuhan sa akin, lalo na yung mga minority votes. Pag pumunta ko dyan sa mall, okay, puro kaway. Puro halika ba? Sino ang botohan natin? Okay, mga minority dito sa Zamboanga, no? Kasi marami man tayo, mga kaibigan dito sa Zamboanga. Halika. Ano bang ano? Sabi ko sa kanila, kung meron kayong decision, okay, magsabi lang, no? Kung anong decision po ng mga minority di Zamboanga, okay, magsabi lang in advance para kung saan tayo boboto po sa pagdating ng halalan midterm election, no? Ayan. Yun lang ang sagot ko sa kanila. Ngayon ay plano ng mga family, yung mga minority votes dito ay magplano na. Okay, nagkalat na sa pamagitan po ng social media, and then pagdating ng decision, magsabi yan, magpadala ng message, okay, dito ang botohan natin, no? Dito sa Zamboanga. Ganon yan. Sino bang botohan natin? Mga 2 days, 1 days before election, alam na natin kung sino decision po ng majority po dito sa mga minority dito sa Zamboanga, no? So, yun lang inaantay natin, mga decision ng mga elders natin, okay, dito sa Zamboanga, ay sunod-sunod lang naman tayo, no? Sumunod tayo sa kanila. Ang mga elders natin po, minority dito sa Zamboanga. Ako, ganun ang ugali ko. Kung sino ang maraming opinion, okay, sino ang majority opinion, sumunod ako, mga sukita. Ganon ang style natin. Ginagalang po natin ang mga opinion po ng mga nakatatanda sa atin, no? Ayan. So, ayan po. So, mamili tayo. Okay, Team Olaso o Team, ano bang team na Dalipe? Okay, performance ba yan? Ayan. Yan lang pinipili natin sa napakahalaga po ang mayor ng Zamboanga City, no? Ayan. So, lahat po yan naabangan natin. Kasi botante tayo dito sa Zamboanga. So, napakahalaga po ang isang boto po para sa isang kandidato, no? Ayan. So, palagay ko sa resources ay hindi man mag-iwan, no? Okay. Meron din ito resources po si Kimer Adan Olaso. Meron din resources po itong mga Dalipe. Okay, pag-pausapan ng resources to. Ayan. So, bantay na lang tayo. Bantay tayo sa kanila. Concern tayo kasi maraming issue po. Pag dito po sa siyudad ng Zamboanga. Napakahalaga ang mga issue. Okay, dapat tugunan po ng mga local government units, national government unit, national government. Maraming problema po sa baha. Okay, problema sa kuryente, medyo okay na, no? Okay, salamat po sa Samselco. Sige, utang pa. Basta magandang serbisyo. Sige lang, utang lang. Magbayad lang. Yan ang kabuhayan ng economy po, mga kababayan, na mag-utang. Okay. Sige, basta ayos ang serbisyo, utang lang. Okay, bayaran naman ng mga konsumente. Diba? Tayo man magbayad ng kuryente. So, portion doon kukuha po magbayad ng loan. Hindi naman tayo makasurvive kung walang utang. Pero maganda po ang serbisyo. Ang kapalit yun, magandang serbisyo. Maganda naman ang serbisyo, di ba? Okay, so lahat ng pinuno po ng Samselco ay dagdagan pa ang mas magandang serbisyo, no? Wala na nga gaano brownout. Lagi na lang kumaka-news Okay. Lagi naman ka-news. Salamat sa kanila. Hanggang dito po mga kababayan, tapos na ang balita natin. Okay, babalik tayo mamayang hapon. Ito na po, no? Yan. Okay. Ayan po. So, ibig sabihin, hanapin na ng sound. And then mag-close tayo. Babalik tayo mamayang hapon, no? Okay. Sandali lang, hanapin kong sound. Okay, paalam na tayo, nandito ng sound. Okay, paalam ako sa umagang ito sa ating studio. Okay, sa programa pa rin ng Consolidated News na naibigay ko sa inyo, no? Okay. Siyempre pa rin, dito po sa programa Halo-Halo Special. Okay. Opinion, balita at iba pa. Okay, inulit ko ay hanggang ngayon po ay programa pa rin ng kanyang anniversary, ika-13th anniversary, no? Okay, itong programa ito. So, okay, sa platform po ng ADLSN TV News Online. Okay, kasama po ang serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan, and then ugnayan sa mamamayan, at saka itong serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan, ugnayan sa mamamayan, at pag-aruga po sa mamamayan, no? So, palagay ko hanggang dito muna. Okay, ang news natin. Pero babalik ako mayang hapon, no? Sana gumaling na ako itong araw ito, mga so. Sana paligo po ng mainit na tubig, no? Ayan. Okay. So, hindi na tayo paligoy-ligoy, paalam tayo. Okay, magmula sa kanyang tahanan ng ADLSN TV News Online. Ayan, so there you are. Sabi po ni Dipunto, okay, Rod Navarro, wala tayong masamang tinapay sa inyo, no? Kahit paano itatouch ko balita rito, walang intention po para mapasama kayo. Ang intention natin po, ang puso natin, para mapayapa ang sambayanan. Okay, lahat-lahat na, pati ang mga kapwa natin po sa mga global community, no? Kasama sila sa dasal natin. Okay, hindi ibig sabihin, hindi tayo maawa po yung mga nangyari po dyan sa bansang Israel, okay, bansang Gaza, o kaya Lebanon, Syria, pati na rin sa Iran, o kaya sa Yemen, kasi yan ang parang diyan po ang center po ng kaguluhan po, mga suki, no? Bansang Israel at saka itong Gaza. So lahat po ay dala natin ng okay, paghingi, okay, pag sa amin duaa, supplication, okay, sa inyo prayers, mag-prayers tayo, mga suki, no? Magdua kami. Okay, sana po mapayapa na itong mundo natin, no? Kaya lagi ko sinasabi yung mga dalaga, o kaya mga binata, mag-asawa na, no? Okay, baka bigla na lang magkasabugan po ang nuclear bomb, nuclear warhead, hindi kayo makaasawa, mga suki, no? Okay. Para magkaroon man lang family. Okay, hindi natin masigurado itong mga daigdig natin. Mabuti itong mga powerful nation ay dilat pa. Okay, bukas pa ang mga kaisipan nila. Okay, masawata itong mga kaguluhan, mga suki, ito. Katulad ang ginawa ng US, katulad ginawa ng Germany, katulad ginawa ng European Union, katulad ginawa ng France, katulad ng itong malit na bansa, itong mayaman, pero malit na bansa mayaman, itong Gulf Cooperation Council, mag-isip po magkaroon po ng immediate ceasefire po yung gulo na yan diyan po sa Middle East, no? Okay, sa palagi ko, tama na muna. Okay. Babalik tayo mamayang hapon. Okay. This has been Abs Damahan. Okay, sa umagang ito, araw ng Lunes. Araw po ng Buenas. Okay, maghanap buhay tayo. Okay, kahit dito tayo sa bahay, pwede maghanap buhay po pumagitan po ng internet, no? Okay, kung hindi mo kaya na magpunta sa labas, kahit sa bahay, maghanap buhay tayo, no? Okay, basta online. So, paano? Babay na? Babay na po, mga kaibigan natin, no? Mga katulong natin, taga-suporta po ng programa ng mahabang panahon. Paano? Babay na. Okay.
Ang programang All Special Pinoy Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.